Hey there. Glad to see you. Well, I can't see you, but glad to be here with you today. So, what I wanted to talk about is what's a survivor mindset and how do I get there? So, it's really overwhelming to see the abuse and to start having to make all these really hard decisions about what that means for our life and facing our uncertain future and all that. I mean, I remember when I was living in the really hopeless place of thinking that I would never be able to survive going through a divorce. And then after the divorce, being in that hopeless place of thinking I could just never heal or get my life back. And, being in that place just sapped my energy and my strength and my hope. And it was when I was able to see how the decades of abuse, that all that psychological abuse that I went through, had changed my perception and my perspective on life and on myself and on my own abilities. That's when I started to see that I could start to make some changes that I really wanted to make. And these were the kind of changes that would start aligning me with truth, that there were concrete things that I could do to change my future, and the truth that God would actually bring me through. And so, what I had to see was that even though I had been victimized, that was absolutely true. I had been victimized. I was actually not a powerless victim. That was not who I was or who I am. See, realizing that we've been victimized is really important to get us out of the confusion and to free us from the abuse. But developing an empowered survivor mindset is what actually helps us heal and get our life back. And those are two different things. So, I want to talk briefly about what an empowered survivor mindset looks like, and then I'll mention a few things that can help you get there. So, an empowered mindset is acknowledging your life as it is. That means not living in denial about your struggles, but accepting them as they are, accepting your life as it is. And that, these struggles I'm talking about are the external struggles that we have, like, being betrayed by friends, losing our church, whatever we're going through. And then our powerlessness over really changing other people, because that is true powerlessness. We can't change other people. And then also the internal struggles, like facing all the emotional turmoil that we're in rather than denying it. It's okay to admit that the abuse has affected us because that's what abuse does. It affects us tremendously at every single level. So another part of being empowered means is learning to not be afraid of yourself, not being afraid of your thoughts, your feelings, your responses to things that maybe are ways that you don't want to respond, and having compassion on yourself for everything that's going on. You're not weak, you're not at fault. These are the results of abuse. Another part of an empowered mindset is reminding yourself you can get better. You can grow, you can change, you can heal. Because it's true. You can actually shape the course of your life with the choices that you make. Another one is knowing that the healing process it's a process, not expecting to find a quick solution or expect to just heal just because you've left the abuse. There's a lot of healing we have to do after we leave. And um, it's also believing that you have the inner strength to continue on in your healing until a new day dawns. Because you do have that strength. You have survived years or decades of abuse. You are so much stronger than you think you are. Truly, truly, truly. Another part is seeing how you're gaining wisdom, how you have gained wisdom, and how you are continuing to gain wisdom and making progress, even if they're baby steps, all along the way. That means really encouraging yourself. You're like paying attention to how your resilience is starting to grow, how you're not falling for tactics if you're still married, or how you're coping, more and more day by day if you've separated or divorced. And honoring yourself when you bounce back from things that used to, like, make you want to go hide in the closet or just really, really, really trigger you. And another part of it is fighting for your faith in your loving God, our loving, loving God, who He's the one who gives us hope for the future. And abuse destroys our connection to God for so many of us. So we need to fight to get that faith back. And another part is being free to live as the mature, grown-up woman that you are, because you are an adult and you get to live that way. Okay, so what are some of the ways that we can actually get there? A lot of it starts with self-awareness. It takes awareness about your thoughts, self-awareness about how your perspective and your perceptions of things about your life and yourself and God and kind of just everything has been warped by the years of abuse. And it's sorting out what's true and what's lies. Remember, the abuser has been eroding our sense of self and our sense of power for years. And we need to see how all of this has affected us. The blame and the guilt and the self blame and the self doubt and the confusion and all that other brainwashing. We have to really see how that specifically affected me or you, specifically, and start to see the lies that are keeping us from moving forward. Some of the common lies are, I can't, or it won't work, or, well, I'm a failure, or it's my fault, or, well, I just don't know, I don't know how. Those are the kind of lies that we have to start identifying and becoming aware of. I mean, you can, if you want, go ahead and write in some of the lies that you're dealing with in the comments. And then as you become aware of these, you need to know how to rewire those lies into truth, rewire your actual brain out of these life sapping beliefs about yourself and your future that are keeping you trapped in helplessness and hopelessness. Then the second thing is self awareness about how the trauma of your marriage has affected you. Did you know that 88% of women who have been abused develop trauma? 88%. Okay, that's huge. And so you need to learn how your body has been affected by the trauma, how your thoughts have been affected by the trauma, how your body is reacting in these automatic responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. These responses that you do not have control over because they're programmed into your nervous system right now. Although you do have control over changing and healing that. So we need to be aware of what we're dealing with and how the abuse has affected us and how the trauma has actually broken our connection to our own body, to our heart, to our thoughts, to other people, and to God, because that's what trauma does. And then once you've understood how the trauma has affected you, you need to be committed to dealing with that trauma so that it no longer rules your life and you can start living free from it. And that means making the choice to do the work and using trauma tools. There are very specific tools to work with trauma that are very different from, like, changing your thoughts. They're much more integrated with all of you, and they work so that you will be better off in a few months instead of worse off. Let me share something that happened to me recently. I live in Oregon, and we had really, really horrible wildfires here last summer. And we've had them, since the climate changes started. But here in my town, we had wildfires just a few miles upriver. And I mean, there was like weeks where I couldn't see a few feet out the window. It was just nothing but smoke and ash. It was very scary. But also, I lived for 3 weeks with all of my bags packed, my car loaded, the cat carrier ready, waiting for the notice from my county that I had to evacuate my home. Okay, that was trauma. That was life and death. Very, very scary. And it was hard, hard, hard to deal with. So then, it started raining, and it rains a lot in the winter here. And so I wasn't even thinking about wildfires. We've had a very early spring, and it's starting to get really, really hot here now. Normally, it doesn't get hot until June. And so I went outside and I started noticing that my body was reacting to the weather. And I was starting to get really scared about wildfires, even though we're still months away from them. But it was in my body. And that was the trauma coming back. So basically, I could say to myself, there's no wildfires right now. Just calm down. That didn't change my body. So I was starting to get really kind of having a hard time. So I finally sat down and I used the trauma tools, and everything changed. I can sit outside now. It's a sunny day. I'm not thinking about wildfires. I'm not like, panicked, because I was able to unlink the trauma that was stuck in my body and those reactions of fear. So these trauma tools work. Another thing of developing the mindset and how you can do that is really telling yourself the truth about the coping mechanisms that you are living in, because we all develop them. It's not our fault, but it's the best we know how to do. And so, do you have coping mechanisms? Like shutting down, or my favorite, eating chocolate cake or brownies, or shopping, or Netflix, or social media, or even, drinking alcohol, or just going out and dating when you're not ready. We have to see how these coping mechanisms are hurting us and keeping us from healing. And then we have to find a way to heal so that we no longer need those coping mechanisms. And so part of being an empowered survivor is accepting help, accepting real help that works, so that you can actually start to do all these things that I've been talking about. And I can tell you that that real help is available to you in my Arise Healing community. It's also remembering that it takes commitment to yourself and it takes work to heal. It's not just something that will happen to you, it's something that you need to take responsibility for. And it's, you get there step by step, decision by decision, day by day. You grow, you change, you heal. And I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to do the hard work when you're surrounded by other women who are on the same healing journey, who will encourage you when you have a hard day, because we all have hard days. But here's what I want to say to you. You put so much commitment and work into your marriage. I know that you did, or that you still are. So I know you can take that same commitment that you've put into your marriage and focus it on yourself. Focus it on your own healing. Focus it on where it's going to actually make a difference. I believe you are worth putting that commitment to work for you instead of putting it to work for other people. It's time for you to commit to healing yourself and taking all of those strengths that you have, that you've put into the marriage, and focus them on yourself. So that's what I believe about you. Do you believe that you're worth it? Because that's part of the journey we have, is to know that we are worth putting the work into. I think you're worth it. I think it's time for you to put yourself first. And if you think it's worth it, then I really encourage you to check out my Arise Healing community. I can tell you there's nothing else like it out there. The tools that I teach in Arise, you're not going to learn in any other program for abused women, because I am trauma informed, and that's my specialty. And you'll be amazed at what Arise offers you and how much it can help you. And it can help you with everything that I've been talking about here already today. So let me look at the comments. I did, and now I'm focusing on me. Good, 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 good. That's what we need to do. We need to say, this is my life. I'm an adult, and I am going to focus on me now, and I'm going to do the work it takes to heal, because we can heal. We're not just given this life sentence of struggle just because we were in an abusive marriage. We can heal. When you put yourself first, everybody gets mad. Yep, they do, don't they? Well, too bad for them because you're gonna take care of you now. That's what I have to say about that. Yeah, everybody else gets mad because they're so used to us taking care of them. And you know what? They're grown-ups too. They'll figure it out. They'll work it out. And of course, obviously, if they're children, we do continue to be as the best moms that we can. Okay, that's all I had to say. If there are any other